now I'd like to introduce our next speaker. So we do actually now have Mahmoud with us. Mahmoud, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Carrie. I was
great.
here since the beginning as well, but had some technical challenges.
Apologies. So I'll quickly introduce you. It's great to see you again. So it wasn't that long ago we were together. So yes. Mahmoud Sofrata, who's a VP from ITIDA, based in Egypt. And I'll just do a very brief intro. So I had the pleasure of going to the Global Outsourcing Summit that was Outsourcing or Offshoring Summit. Yeah, that was hosted in Cairo towards the end of last year, and it was full of fantastic presentations from from very high level people within the Egyptian government. So we had the Minister for IT. It was also supported by the President as well as the Prime Minister, as well as obviously ITIDA, and the information that was presented was mind-blowing as to just quite how advanced the country is in its embracing and adoption and educational systems for AI, the fact that you already have AI in the national curriculum. So I was blown away with that, and I'm absolutely excited that you've agreed to actually share a little bit more about what you're actually doing. And we're using you as a little bit of a geographical showcase on the art of the possible of what could be and is going on all around the world. So thank you, Mahmoud. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm delighted to be with you today, and thanks so much for the invitation. Yes, it wasn't so long ago in November when we had the Global Offshoring Summit. Good news is I was listening since the beginning, so I didn't miss anything. The other good news is I don't have any slides, so I'm just gonna talk for a bit, for about a few minutes. This conversation actually comes in a perfect time. A couple of weeks ago, we concluded a big conference and exhibition in Cairo as well, AI Everything Middle East and Africa, organized by GITEX, if you're familiar with the GITEX group. And in partnership with ITIDA, we hosted over 350 companies, including more than 100 startups. We had more than 100 investors coming from 30 countries, and over 100 speakers for 2 days continuously, on panels. It was quite interesting, and maybe some of the reflections out of this was just 2 weeks ago. And I think it's interesting to the discussion that we're having today, because it's quite interesting when you bring top executives from big companies and speakers with expertise in domain in front of audience, diverse audience. I have business people, technical people, university graduates, government. So the discussions and the questions were quite vibrant, because everyone's asking the same kind of questions that or some of the questions that are being asked today. People are worried about the impact of AI, where we're going. Is it ethical? How are we governing it? How is this going to impact the jobs? In fact, I was sitting on one of the panels, and I got asked the question, what does it mean for you to run AI at scale? And the question for us was, as a government, was quite simple. It's citizen adoption. And when you grow, when citizens starts to see value out of any new technology and start to adopt it, and this is really when you see scale. And I gave you some of the examples. Think of if AI is helping doctors diagnose faster and more accurately, then this would mean that doctors maybe can see more patients. Think of something like that for a big country like Egypt of over 110 million people. That's a big impact for technology to have. Similarly in education, and rightly so, you mentioned we have adopted AI within our strategy for education as well. Again, we're a big country. 40%, I'm sorry, 70% of the population is below the age of 40, so we're a young population. And technology like this can make big difference in increasing the competitiveness and the readiness of the new generation. So I liked out of the discussions that in that conference that there was a lot of discussions, not particularly on hardware, but more on a human centric. So there were definitely lots of discussions on LLM, agentic AI, federated versus sovereign, vibe coding, all that stuff came up. But there were always questions that were coming, genuinely from the people about, okay, so what's the value of this? There was something interesting of being saying that AI is good, but for somebody else, not me. And that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to change that through capacity building and human development. The last two speakers, I listened to Greg as well, to focusing on the new skills that we need to have, having the capabilities. So that's why for us in Egypt, 80% of our budget goes towards human capital development and trainings. So I mean, last year, I'm talking on the entire digital spectrum, from basic digital skills to fully funded PhD in computer science and new technologies in biomedical engineering and other elements as well. So we focus a lot on that. We trained 500,000 people last year. We aiming to train 800,000 this year. And I think that this is where we can make a difference. The other element as well, and maybe this is another point of the discussion, is the AI bias, and that's something very important for us. Look, I'm talking about you look at the Arab world. We are 400 million people speaking a language that for many of the current LLMs are being treated as a translated language. Where we lose a lot when the language itself is not being treated in the core of the AI. So we took the lead on that in Egypt, and we launched in that conference Karnak, which is our first Arabic, or I would say not Arabic, but the Egyptian LLM. And we're looking to contribute and participate with our neighbors and with other countries as well to enhance and grow the capabilities, because we believe that also can add a lot of value when it comes to bridging these gaps in the biases of the current models. So these were just a couple of thoughts I wanted to shed the light on from coming fresh out of the conference that we just had, and I think it contributes to the discussion that we're having today. And again, thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you very much for sharing, and there'll be a lot more questions coming your way where we'll be trying to get some intel out of you as to what else you're doing, and have a big discussion really about what's actually happening across the different geographies. I think it's quite a lot of questions about how we're all working together and the competitive advantages. So we'll be coming back to that subject. Right.